Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa, and today is December 12th, 2021. It is, according to that clock, 9:41, so it's probably like 9:43 for realsies because that clock's like 2 minutes behind. I know I haven't recorded in a while, and that's because I've gotten some hits to my life recently, some big hits. So last month in November, my brother and my dad passed away within a week of each other. And it's been really hard to navigate life right now. So my sister and I are grieving, and my nephew, my brother's son, is grieving, my oldest nephew, and I'm assuming that I don't know if my youngest nephew, I don't know if my youngest nephew fully understands because he lives in Missouri with his mom, so he didn't see his dad very often, for one. Not because my brother didn't love him. My brother loved him dearly, but just because of the distance and financial stuff and whatever. And so also he's got some, I guess, I don't remember, like Tegan, my best friend, is the one that's the clinical therapist, but I don't know if it's technically a disorder or disability, but anyway, he's got some disorders and disabilities that may limit him from understanding I guess the concept of death and loss when there was so much distance and time between them being able to physically visit each other. Because I know that I think that my brother made calls to him, but regardless, my family has become very small and we're hurting. So anyway, so I just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit and try not to cry, and talk about a lot of different things, but hopefully not too many, because I don't want to keep you very long, and every time I try to make a small video, I end up going on and on. So anyway, so I wanted to talk about my lack of progress in the area of kind of general health, I guess. And right now it's kind of understandable because, we just lost people, but it's truly been a kind of what started out to be a slow downward spiral, just a slow, gradual fail, making poor choices over and over again, small ones, and just kind of slipping back into my old bad habits until the point when they become almost overwhelmingly, they feel like they're impossible to tackle. And unfortunately, it's kind of gotten to that point. So last night, my sister and I were talking. We had a really good time going out with some friends to go axe throwing, and we also went bowling. And it was like the good time that we really, really needed to have. It was so much fun. And so afterwards, we're talking about the fact that we're both struggling with food choices. And I told her, I said, I hate this, that I'm back to this point where I feel like I'm not going to be able to do it. And I said, and I know that that's not true. I'm like, I've done it before. I've done it, more than once, obviously. I have made the good changes and everything. I'm like, but now it's like, it's really hard to have to go back to square one when you were at like square 8 and you were doing so well over here. And then you have to like go almost all the way back to square one. So that being said, like I said, I'm almost completely back into my old bad habits. And I've kept myself from completely sinking into those, but it feels like it's going to be really, really hard to get back into good ones. And I think it's kind of like what Les Brown says in one of his videos. He said, sometimes sometimes when you're talking to yourself about your dreams and everything, it's you can't really say I can do that, but you can say that it's possible, because it's like when you look at like the big picture, it seems like overwhelmingly huge, and it feels like you'll never get there because it's too big. But you can say that it's possible. And the whole point of it, which many motivational speakers talk about, many personal growth and development authors and speakers and podcast people and everything, they talk about taking everything in small steps so that you can get there. And that's the whole point. You may have heard the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that is how you tackle a big project. You might look at the big project and think, oh my gosh, I can't do that, it's too big. But if you take that big project and you break it down into steps, and even sometimes sub-steps, like little tiny little bits of steps, and you break it down. Eric Thomas talks about that too. Like he talks about how in one of the videos that I listened to, or even actually a couple, he talks about how, like, you know, like people might be like, this is my year. It's my year. It's going to be my year. And then Eric's like, or E.T., as he calls himself, E.T., he's like, well, how many steps? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know that it's my year. And he goes, if you can't measure it, it's not real. And so I look at this big picture and I think, I can't do this because I have literally gone in the opposite direction. So at the beginning of the year, I had set this goal to get down to, I think it was 175 pounds, I think. Yeah, I think so. And it gave me like a 52-pound goal to work off. 52 pounds, 52.7 or something. But that was back technically it was at the end of December last year, the last week of December, and I was talking about getting a head start on the goals and everything. And I think I weighed like 227 point something. I know, because I thought that the rough 52-pound goal was a really great goal, because one, it takes me down to a weight that is pretty healthy for my height and everything, like the BMI and all that, even though the BMI is not concrete, it's just a kind of a good guide. But my healthy would be 175 would be wonderful. So it would have taken me down into this healthy weight, according to a BMI. Actually, technically, for my height, I should actually be below that. But I know for me, like, that would be great. Anyway, and I thought it was perfect because mathematically, with that extra week, that would have given me 53 weeks in the entire new year, plus that 1 week in advance, to lose just over 52 pounds, which that just over would be that 53rd week. Unfortunately, however, I started with weight loss, working it off. I started working it off and I was doing really well. And then I started, like, I think I kind of like hit steady, and then I think I like went upwards instead. And so now, unfortunately, I weighed myself this morning, and I've weighed myself since my brother and my dad died, just like maybe twice total, and actually, wow, today marks a month since my brother died. But maybe twice in the last month, because it's not really been a priority, and or I didn't make it a priority, but interestingly enough, I really know that health, the entire myriad of health, everything works together, and your mental health is affected by your physical health, and vice versa. Your emotional health, all of it, all ties together. And it's like, I think Jim Rohn was the one that talked about the upward spiral versus the downward spiral. And if it wasn't him, I apologize. But you've got, when you make those poor choices, those small little poor choices consistently, you start a downward spiral. But when you make the good choices consistently, and they're small, and they're like, just sometimes they're hour to hour, minute to minute, But you make those good choices consistently, you actually build an upward spiral where you continue to build on itself. So, not to get into that too much because it's so easy to get into, making those good choices actually inspires you to make even better choices and everything. So that is, unfortunately, like I said, I don't want to go back to square one when I was on square 8, but so be it. So I weighed in this morning and 252.4. That's where I'm at. So 252.4 pounds, and basically have gained 25 pounds since the beginning of the year, instead of working off 52 point some pounds. So I am behind in a sense, but also I also recognize that, you know, life's full of ups and downs, and even though this is in the complete and total opposite direction of the way I wanted to go, I know that I'm not the only one that experiences this, but you're only a failure if you give up, and I won't give up. I had to take a break. And I even recognized at first that I felt like I was using my dad and my brother's excuse to just overeat. Provided I haven't just gained these 25 pounds like in the last month. I've gained about 10 of them in the last month. About 10 in the last month. However, this has been something that I've like just steadily teeny tiny gains like throughout the year, and sometimes losses and then sometimes gains, but mostly upward. So anyway, I'm getting ready to go walk. There was something else. It hit me and then it left. This is what happens when I don't write myself a script and I'm like all over the place. So I don't even know if you want to call it a script. It's more like a guideline. Like in public speaking class, this is how I get off subject, by the way. In public speaking class, you talk about making an outline and going down your outline. And then if you need to make a note card with a few notes on it to kind of keep you on track. And I want to teach public speaking, and I'm not doing that. So, but even so, you know, this is really casual. This YouTube channel is really casual for me. It's not, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I do create a prompt. I will call it a prompt rather than a script, because script makes it sound like I'm just like memorizing whatever. But a prompt and a list of things to go down. So, and it'll probably come back to me. But again, okay, so to return to what I was talking about. So at first I was kind of like almost using their deaths as an excuse to eat. And then it wasn't an excuse. It was just being in those feelings and grieving and using food as a coping mechanism, not using them as an excuse to kind of feed my addiction with food, but actually just using food as a coping mechanism, which is something that a lot of people do, and not just for grieving, but also in so many different ways. And so that does bring me back to something that I was going to talk about. So in recognizing, or rather, aside from recognizing the fact that I have gotten to a point where this is going to feel impossible again, and how hard it is again to go from like I'm way over here and I'm doing so well and I'm exercising consistently and I'm making good healthy choices with my food and drinking lots of water, and then to kind of downward spiral back into where I was with not exercising consistently and drinking a ton of water and not making good food choices, and how I had to take steps to get back that. It's like I've had a taste of what it's like to be up here, but I have to go back down to here because I've slowly made my way back down. And looking at it that way is almost, it's kind of like a hit to your ego. It's like, but I know I'm capable of this, but if this feels impossible right now, and that's why I have to go back to here, and it sucks. So I have to basically start with small goals again. So when I first started my journey, I wrote like, when I first got serious about it back in 2018, I gave myself little goals for the week, and it was one of them was like exercise 3 times a week for 15 minutes each time. And that, for some of you like who are consistent exercisers, who ever been consistent exercisers, that's pretty small. But when you're just starting out, it's something, and obviously it's more than what you're doing, and it's a good, reasonable goal to do. So I was doing that 15 minutes 3 times a week, and whether it was going for a walk or whether it was, I have these weights, and I don't know if I've ever shown them on this channel before, but I've got like some 5-pound weights, and just, exercising my arms. Well, that was not good. But anyway, all kinds of different, whatever, taking those weights and just doing that and like varying those exercises over a 15-minute span. And then I made number goals. Like I progressed from doing that to making like, hi, baby, to making number goals. Like you, real quick, because, everybody loves a fluffy cat. But anyway, making those number goals. Like, I'm going to do, instead of just the 15 minutes, I'm going to do 15 wall push-ups. So I go up against the wall and do push-ups. I'm going to do 15 crunches. And that was interesting because when I actually started getting on the floor back then, it was hard for me to even lay down. I had to like lay down and let my back adjust with all the pain. It was like discomfort pain. It wasn't like sharp pain, but it was like discomfort pain where I had to let my back adjust to just being flat on the floor. Or as flat as it could be with my big butt. But I had to wait for it to adjust before I even attempted a crunch. And I'm talking, my crunches were, maybe my shoulders came up off the floor like a teeny tiny bit. But yeah, that was progress for me. So that was a big deal. And then of course I'd bump it up. And then I went from wall push-ups to the floor push-ups, but where my knees were, or where they were from my knees. So I think back in like way back in the day when I was in elementary school, they were girl push-ups, which is kind of, as we all know now, it's stupid because girls are capable of doing full push-ups where their feet are all the way out. But that's what they called them at the time. But I call them knee push-ups. So where you're basically, your feet are crossed like this and you're on your knees, and that's how you're doing your. But anyway, but I could do better crunches and everything. So I had to work my way up to that point. And then it was to where I could do like 100 squats in my morning workout. I'd take it like 20 or 25 at a time and do so many sets of them and make it to 100. She's clawing some cardboard. And, are you done? Obviously not, she says. But anyway, so I had to work my way up to where I was doing that. I had to work my way up to where instead of just walking once around the park, I would incorporate some running within the walking and then do longer distances to the point where I could finally run around all the way. And then to the point where I can run around, 2 times. And in my park that I go to, it's a full 3 miles 2 times around. And then I think my best record nonstop running was about 7 miles, 7 or 7.5. And then this last July, I did a St. Jude run where I promised 10 miles of running for $10. Every person that donated $10 to my cause, and that was kind of the whole thing. They got to sign my shirt, the shirt that I wore whenever I ran, and I did that, and it was great. But I had to do that because I'd had that. That was back at a point where had started slipping back into kind of my old bad habits. I had to like space it out over the entire day. And so instead of just being able to like knock out most of it, or even like maybe half of it, take a break and then do the other half, I had to like take breaks like every few miles and do it throughout the day. So there's that. And I'm going to tell you that the truth is this year has been one of the hardest years of my life, if not the hardest year of my life. Just a lot of things have happened, and I'll keep that for another video. But I also don't want to have a video where I just kind of whine and bitch and moan about how hard it's been for me, because it's not all been negative things. Some of it has been positive things, but stress is stress, as we all know. So you can have great positive stress, but that could still be stress for you. So anyway, so I will go ahead. I'll wrap it up now. I was going to talk a little bit about the book that I'm reading, and I think I touched on before, and some of the things in there. But to mention one of them is in Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. One of the things he talks about is going out and getting sunlight for at least a half an hour every day. and aim to do that as close to when you wake up as you can, because of your body being able to produce cortisol, which is that it's kind of demonized in the media, but cortisol is actually a body. Please don't get mad if I'm butchering this. I think it's either a hormone chemical or it's some kind of chemical. But anyway, it's an energy chemical that your body produces that you run on. So it helps to give you this boost in the morning if you go out and get that cortisol. Helps to wake you up and helps you focus and all this other. So and then of course it's funny because I'm reading all this stuff and realizing that everything that I was doing back in my original schedule was like super like I didn't know about all this stuff, but it was like in line with all these guidelines and these tips and tricks for better sleep and better health in general that he talks about in his book, like getting up and going and exercising and getting that sunshine because I'm going outside and all this other, and they just worked so hand in hand. It's no wonder that I felt so good physically. I was still hurting because of other things going in my life, but not completely though. I mean, I would have great, wonderful successes all throughout in different ways. But anyway, so that was really that was interesting to think. No wonder I felt so good physically. I was doing almost everything that I'm reading about now without knowing it was a thing. It was just like, hey, this is the best time for me to work out, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so I'm about 21 minutes into my video, a little over. I have to go walk. I'm going to go walk. I'm going to go get that sunlight. I'm going to go generate some vitamin D and some cortisol in my body and hopefully set myself up for a really good day. It's Sunday, so I'm hoping that since I'm fortunate enough now to have a job where I get weekends off, because I used to not have that kind of job for the majority of my working career, my working life. I'm hoping I can get some things done around the house, but also be able to sit and relax and have a nice Sunday as well. And that's not to say that doing things isn't nice, because it gives you that feeling of accomplishment, good positive vibes. So, and then also I have basically some tests and a final that are due within the next few days. So in my class. So anyway, again, I will hopefully revisit the topic of how hard I've been hit this year, and also be able to talk about this book a little more because it's really good. And I hope you have an awesome day. Hopefully I can follow my own advice and make good choices and be my best self and live my best life. And I will encourage you to do the same. All right. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a wonderful day, whatever day it is when you watch this. And I will talk to you later.